It's time to play the music. It's time to light the lights. It's time to meet the assholes on the Dynasty tonight. That's right. It's time to put on makeup. It's time to dress up right. It's time to raise the curtain on the Dynasty tonight. Why do we always come here? I guess we'll never know. It's like some kind of torture to have to watch the show. And now let's get things started. Why don't you get things started? It's time to get things started on the most sensational, inspirational, celebrational, sexuational. This is what we call the Dynasty Podcast.
Welcome to the Dynasty Podcast. This is Commissioner Eric Costanza coming at you hot. Due to the success of Draft Day, I've been inspired to step up my commish game. So I am bringing to you this very podcast. So buckle up your motherfucking seatbelts. As you guys have heard here, it is a rated R show. Get ready. Let's do this thing. Draft Day Analysis. Yeah. After a one-year hiatus of our live draft, the Dynasty Live Draft returned this year at a brand new venue. But most importantly, it was the first time that the league as a whole, for the most part, all met each other. The level of commitment was very impressive. I'd like to thank Andrew for assisting me with a lot of the materials and seamlessly partnering with Coach Fernando, who was able to draft from Texas via FaceTime. I'd like to thank Coach Greg, who spent the night prior to the draft in the hospital. Everything's okay, but you know he did do what he needed to do to make it happen and arrive at the draft, albeit a few rounds late, but not a big deal. So that was a big tip of the hat to him as well. Obviously, thank you to everyone, to all you guys, for coming and having a great attitude, being prepared, and obviously a special thank you goes to Coaches Paul and Josh for coming all the way from Virginia. The commitment and dedication that you've all displayed here is very impressive, and it's actually really reinvigorated me to forget some of the disrespect, negativity stuff that may have happened in the past, and really focused on the present, and really step up my commissionership for all of you. So thank you for sparking the fire underneath my ass. On to the events that occurred on draft day. So before the draft day even occurred, the week of the draft, we saw 3 trades go down. And then on draft day, before the draft started, we saw 2 trades occur. That may be unprecedented. I'm pretty sure it is. Let's talk a little bit about keepers. Alvin Kamara, Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott, Julio Jones, Odell Beckham, Nick Chubb, McCaffrey, Michael Thomas, David Johnson, and James Conner. They were all the D16 keepers. That's 7 running backs, 3 receivers. That means that there were 4 first-time keepers in Barkley, McCaffrey, Chubb, and Conner. And of this year's crop of keepers, Odell Beckham has actually been kept the most in the history of the Dynasty. This was his 5th time, followed by David Johnson's 4th time and Julio's 3rd time. In the history of the Dynasty, there's been 85 running backs kept, 29 receivers, 26 quarterbacks, and 2 tight ends. No kickers, believe it or not. No kickers. Or defenses. Since we had a lot of first-time Dynasty drafters, we were very lenient on some of the draft day etiquette and rules, especially pertaining to any misspellings or redrafting of players, but it sounds like we're going to probably bring back the Nerf arsenal next year, which will be great. For those of you that don't know, Nerf and the Dynasty have a very strong partnership. I actually have hosted on this very show the creator of Nerf, Mr. Ren Geyer. Google it, it's true. And he's been on this show before, actually a few times. And Nerf is near and dear to the Dynasty's heart, so maybe that is something we shall kind of, bring back. A couple of other highlights was when Coach Derek and Josh agreed upon a trade involving a 5th-round pick and a $5 arcade card. Additionally, our ethics manager, Coach Will, he graciously and aggressively took it upon himself to be the official timekeeper, ensuring / bullying many coaches to make sure that they make their pick within 2 minutes once we hit the 10th round. I, for one, would like to see Will take this on as a league role going forward. I thought he was fantastic. All in all, it was a very fun event, and I'm very happy that all of us, especially, including Fernando virtually, were able to all meet each other, and hopefully everyone now knows each other, kind of put a name to the face, and it assists with maybe increased chatter, maybe interactiveness, and just the overall fun for everyone. All right, so this said, regarding the draft, or really anything else, if anyone has any feedback, any suggestions on how to make the draft or the league better, please feel free to let me know. The Dynasty is only as strong as its weakest link, and I'm always wanting to do whatever is necessary to not make it stale and or make it a better experience for everyone. The best thing you can do is actually email me at thedynastycommissioner@gmail.com. Any suggestions you have now, during the season, whenever. And honestly, if you do that, it'll be immediately added to my list of topics to be discussed during the off season. All right, so a few things that happened after the draft, which is going to have pretty heavy ramifications. So Primetime's 9th round selection, quarterback Andrew Luck, I should say former quarterback, the sumbitch retired out of nowhere. And Lamar Miller snipped his ACL. So that was Warriors' 8th round pick. So, tough breaks, shit happens, shit's going to happen, at any time during the preseason, during the season. That being said, we all know that the 3rd week of the preseason is probably one of the more telling weeks of the preseason, where more things would occur, where more of the starters play and whatnot. These injuries, these retirements happen literally hours after our draft. I'm wondering, and I'm just putting it out there, I'm wondering if, maybe we should draft during Labor Day weekend like we actually typically do. I know some of you have lives, but not sure if that's something maybe, we want to think about. We'll talk about that during the off season, and, whatever you guys want to do, whatever the majority wants. Maybe we can push it to Sunday. I'm not sure how much of a difference that would make, or if that is an option, but things to think about as we move forward here. So I've done enough babbling, all right? I've done enough babbling. Let's go ahead and get someone else's opinion. Let's get a coach on the line. Let's get someone on the line. Let's do it.
Now it is time. Fucking right, it's time. So grab your balls and let's go. Coaches interview. Here we fucking go.
And now, on the Dynasty podcast, Coach Hotline. We have ourselves the newest edition of the Dynasty, Coach of Pimpin' Ain't Breezy. That's right, it's Coach Josh Lyons. Josh, thank you for being on the show.
Absolutely, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
That was, by the way, that was the Godfather's entrance music.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I thought it would be, make sense considering, Pimpin' Ain't Breezy, kind of, the pimp, the hose. Yeah.
I was getting to shout out Who Dat in the middle of it, but I figured I'd let you go on with the thing. So.
Awesome. All right, so there's so much I want to talk about. So, all right, the Dynasty draft, it's been basically compared to a kid waking up on Christmas morning. I, for one, was honored that both you and Paul traveled over 500 miles coming from Virginia Beach to draft with us. As the newest member of the Dynasty and one of the many first-time live drafters, can you just talk a little bit about your overall experience on draft day? Maybe a little bit of what you were expecting versus what actually occurred.
Yeah, I would definitely say the comparison to a child on Christmas morning suits it well. As you said, it was my first live draft. I expected it to be. I didn't expect it to be as lively. Honestly, I thought there would be a lot of people there that were very concentrated in their own drafts and maybe not mingling with each other as much. I enjoyed it. Obviously, I enjoyed everybody, talking to each other and giving each other crap about, my pick with the Chicago Bears in the 9th round and stuff like that. So it was definitely an awesome experience. I loved it. I would absolutely travel that far to do that again. I think that the best experience for me out of the entire weekend was walking in and seeing the draft board, but just like seeing it in person. It's much different than just sitting behind a laptop and seeing a draft board from there. Definitely a different feel. Certainly enjoyed it for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear it's something that sounds like it's worth you guys doing what you did to get here and everything. You just took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to ask you about the draft board. Obviously, it's customized. We obviously implement our logos. So for those of you that maybe didn't realize how important your logos are out there, feel free to. Hey, some of you guys may not know this about me, but I'm pretty good at paintbrush. I'm not so good at Photoshop. Photoshop I'm not so good at, but paintbrush. You want some help on your logo? I'm the man to come to. I'll come up with a couple creative ideas. Anywho, So you mentioned the draft board. From what I know, a lot of leagues that do have live drafts, they basically use like one big board. And to be honest with you, CBS actually does send us a little like 11 by 17 draft board that we could use, but. We obviously take that next step here to try to spruce up the draft board and the experience for everyone. So I'm glad to hear that was something that you really, thought was kind of a unique differentiator.
The fact that it took up an entire wall was quite eye appealing, especially from the back of the room. I need to know if some wide receiver I think is going in the 7th round goes in the 4th, right? And it's helpful when the text is so big. So.
Right. Well, another shout out to my 13-year-old daughter who pretty much put all that together. So cool. What was your favorite part off the top of your head? I know you just mentioned the draft board, so maybe other than that, maybe like during the draft, what was your favorite part of the whole draft?
So this might sound a little pompous, but my favorite part of the draft was to see. I did not know. Obviously, I'm new to the league this year. I did not know that there was a trophy awarded to the team. So my favorite part was seeing Paul Bouchard host the trophy up and thinking of myself in his place this time next year. No, in all seriousness, though, probably the trophy. Like seeing the trophy and seeing the names engraved over the past. You said I think 16 years or something like that. It's been quite some time. So. Yep. I've been in many leagues in the past, and we've never. This is obviously probably the most intense league I've ever been in. I'm super excited to be a part of it, but we've never done a trophy. So I think that was probably, and it sounds simple, to award the winner a trophy, but I've never been a part of one that does it. So I would probably say that, and just the overall atmosphere was quite exciting to me. Mm-hmm. I had actually never been to Boston before, so just going to Boston and meeting all the guys, it's definitely nice to put a face to the name of all of the teams. So. Yeah,
great. And I was thinking about that after the draft. You had mentioned you haven't been to Boston before, and hey, I'm just going to throw this out there for everyone. Maybe maybe next year have another live draft, right? And maybe we have a little team outing at Fenway. We'll go to hit up a Sox game, maybe go out afterwards or something. I think that'd be pretty fun. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I'm absolutely game for that, and I know Paul Bouchard would be too. So
awesome. There were a couple people who were kind of whispering over to me, like, hey, it'd be cool if we did this, or maybe we should do that. And I'm very open to any suggestions, to improve the league. Did you have any specific, maybe feedback or suggestions on anything that might improve the draft experience for you, or is it basically, it's perfect the way it is, and anything that we do going forward to improve it is even a bigger perk?
So I guess, honestly, I think the only feedback that I would give, and this probably only pertains to new coaches coming into the league, maybe having, obviously you can't make anything mandatory, but maybe having some type of meetup, whether it's on Skype or FaceTime or whatever the case may be. That way people know who the new coach is, and they're maybe more willing to deal and trade a bit easier. That was probably the hardest part for me coming into the league.
Yeah.
Obviously, only knew one other coach and yourself. I had spoken to a couple of times, but
sure. Yeah.
So I had to use an outlet. If I knew a couple more people, maybe I could have gotten an Alvin Kamara or who knows, right?
Yeah.
I ended up only being able to get one. The actual draft, honestly, maybe after I do it for a year or two, I'd be able to give some more insight on what I thought could be better. I was just blown away by the entire experience. Honestly, it was my first live one. So no critiques from me from like a live draft perspective. Maybe just a bit more follow up in anticipation to the league starting, especially for the new coaches.
Yeah, no, good stuff. And actually, and some of you tenured coaches may remember this. I used to do a preview show, which occurred a couple of weeks prior to draft day, in which every single coach was interviewed, what their thoughts and feelings were going into the draft. That's actually, honestly, when we would even announce our keeper players as well. So that may be something, now that we're at a better point here, we're at a great point in the Dynasty. We just obviously all pretty much met each other and had a great live draft, and it sounds like we're in for a great season. Maybe that's something I bring back, and that may, kind of help with what you were just talking about, Josh, as far as any possible new players, getting to know them and whatnot. Let's talk a little bit about your particular draft. So obviously you made a trade where you obtained Nick Chubb. You kept him. You went ahead and drafted Dalvin Cook in the second round. How did the draft play out for you? Are you happy with what went down? Obviously, as you mentioned earlier, you were the first guy to take a defense in the 9th round. Not the earliest we've seen defenses go before, but a little early nonetheless. Any regrets, any picks that you're like, oh, that's awesome, I'm glad I got him? Where are you with all that?
So I would say that my biggest upside pick would probably be Dalvin Cook. I know he's obviously injury prone, but I did not think he would fall to me where he did. And obviously it always helps after you pick a guy to look up at the TV and see that he just turned off an 86-yard touchdown run. So, ecstatic to have him on my team this year. I would say the pick I probably regret the most would be O.J. Howard as early as I took him. Obviously, I haven't drafted with you guys, and it seems like every league I'm in, the draft strategy is always different. So I feel like I'll obviously learn from this past year and maybe hold off on the tight end a couple more rounds. I feel like I probably could have grabbed him a little bit later than what I did. But overall, honestly, super, super excited to have the team I do. I've been a Saints fan since '97. And I've been playing fantasy for about 15 years, and I've never had Drew Brees on my team. So absolutely. I mean, I'm a Who Dat fan, all about the Who Dat Nation, and I'm super stoked to have him this year.
Yeah, you mentioned that to me as well. Brees is possibly, obviously, past his prime, but he's Drew Brees, right? So he's certainly capable of being, number one quarterback any given year. Let's see, I have it noted here, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe you and Coach Derek, coach the Yo Soy Fiesta, this particular year, you guys were the only coaches who went ahead and made a trade for a material possession. I believe you traded was it a 15th round pick for the $5 arcade card? Is that?
I did.
Okay.
I just could not pass up speedball for 5 rounds. I just couldn't do it. So I had to take advantage of the material possession trade and trade off my 15th round pick to rack up those arcade bucks.
Yeah, and I think you may have already basically been done drafting at that point, so it's not like you even really lost anything in this draft.
I didn't lose anything. Didn't lose anything at all. My entire team was full. The only thing, I mean, I feel like I got the better end of that. I got to play arcade games for.
Well, I was going to ask you, did you use that? So you did. You used it on skee ball then?
I absolutely played every dime of those arcade games.
It sounds like a win-win then right there. I mean, that's a definition of a good trade, right? All right. Let's see. I guess, so haven't played in many fantasy leagues, though it's obviously early. How do you kind of compare this league so far? You kind of already touched upon that a little bit, but, we pride ourselves here in the Dynasty with not only being a fun, competitive, all-star fantasy football experience, but also being unique and interactive as well. So is that not correct thus far, or are we hitting our marks?
No, I think I can absolutely attest to that. Fun, competitive, unique, creative, adaptive to change is probably my biggest thing. I've only been around for this is my first year, obviously, so the adaptability to change, and maybe I haven't seen it completely yet, but I have not spoken to a commissioner in the 15 years that I've been playing that is as willing to hear change as you are. So that's definitely appreciated. For someone that's been doing, that's been commissioning a league for as long as you have, normally they're kind of stuck in their ways, but you seem to, it's always the league above yourself. So that's definitely appreciated, just to get the best out of it, right? And get the best out of all of the competitors in the league. So.
Yeah, totally. And I appreciate your appreciation. This is just a big appreciation fest because, as I mentioned earlier in the show, I've been really reinvigorated and motivated here to, really kind of bring back the type of commissioner skills, I guess, that I feel as if I once had, and it was kind of maybe not something that maybe I kind of lost the flavor for over the last couple of years due to things that you guys have no say in. So the fact that you guys all responded the way you did here during the live draft, and have last year, I know you weren't part of it, Josh, but and then so far this year has really reinvigorated me. So good stuff there. So expectations for this year. Again, you're a rookie coming into the league. Obviously, you're kind of feeling your way in. I will let you know that you did come in third place on the power rankings that the entire league voted on. So you seem to be have a team that a lot of the league members feel is very competitive. What are your realistic expectations here for this year? Is it trophy or bust, basically?
I don't think it's trophy or bust, but okay. To be completely honest, I put together a better team than what I expected to. When I was signing up for this league, I kind of had to forewarn my wife that this is a dynasty league and I might have to build it for a couple of years until I see some success. I would say, honestly, I fully expect to make it to the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Obviously, injuries and playoff schedules and stuff like that have a lot to do with that. I would say second, runner-up, or third, mm-hmm. I would be happy with. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I obviously want to take home the trophy too. Mm-hmm. It is encouraging, like I said earlier, that that I was able to put together such a strong team in my first year. I know the past coaches that I've spoken with said that they weren't able to really turn it around that quickly, like year over year. Obviously, I was dealt some a pretty nice deck of cards coming into the year. So yeah, overall expectation is second or third. Obviously, I'd love to hoist the trophy next year, though.
Good stuff. Good. And you're going to be taking on the Rockdalian Senators coming up in week 1. Actually, I just updated the schedule online, so I don't know if you guys had a chance to take a look at it, but I was obviously holding off on that until we had that discussion we had on draft day in regards to the schedule and week 14 and whatnot. So that has now been updated, and you're going to be taking on the Senators. Looks like you're a bit of a pretty big favorite as I look at it right now. So, you get that first win under your belt, and then it's all about getting into the dance, right? And then from there, anything could happen. I guess as you're heading into your first inaugural game, any special, I don't know, you guys going to be wearing like a patch on your jersey or anything like that? I mean, how's the team feeling right now?
We're feeling ready. We're feeling ecstatic to start the year. I will say that I've looked at the Senators his roster, and he's got a couple of my boys on it. So He's got Latavius Murray. He's got Michael Thomas for the Saints. So that's probably my least favorite thing about fantasy. When you play guys, obviously you want to beat, but they have people on their roster for your true blue NFL team that you follow. So I hope the Saints win 62-3, and Michael Thomas has 3 catches for 22 yards.
Awesome stuff. Well, Josh, thanks again. Forgive me, are you on Twitter?
I am.
Okay. Where can the listeners follow you on Twitter?
At Josh Lyons.
There it is. So feel free to, if you have not already, let's all follow each other. The Dynasty has its own Twitter handle as well. So hopefully once the season gets started, we'll be tweeting out some updates. But Josh, thank you again for being on the show. Thank you for joining the league. Thank you for traveling over 500 miles for our draft. And I'm sure I speak for everyone. We're happy to have you, and we're happy to play with you here this year and ongoing. So good luck in week 1. Good luck this season.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity to join it.
Great. Thanks, Josh.
Team previews.
All right. Well, that was just great stuff from Coach Josh. I think we can all agree that we found ourselves a gem. I think in adding him to the league this year. That being said, I think the next thing I'd like to do, as you heard, is I'd like to do a little team preview. Right. So one of the facets of the Dynasty is the fact that I like to have this be more of a dynasty, right? Now, it's not your typical dynasty fantasy football league in the sense, but it's a dynasty because we all are owners of our own franchise. We obviously have the options of, trading draft picks, which very much impact and, change the future outcomes and, of our teams and franchises. So that being said, we take all-time statistics and things like that a little bit more, I guess seriously than maybe your standard just, year in, year out fantasy football league. So that being said, I'd like to just run through our 10 teams here and, talk a little bit about them. Now, obviously, there's a lot of teams that are very new, if not brand new, so not much to be said there. But let's give it a shot, and let's start with my team. Shall we? Let's do it.
Now it's time for another self-serving, self-indulgent, all about me, useless stat, factoid, or general opinion.
All right, so I'm not gonna talk about my own team. You know what I'll do? I'll leave it up to the fantasy experts over at CBS, our partners. Which, by the way, again, I've had these two bastards on the show as for guests as well. If you want, that being said, a lot of you newbies out there, if you want a full list of guests that I've had on this show, I will be happy to oblige. I'm proud of the list. It is extremely impressive, I must say so for myself. Anywho, I'm not going to talk about my own team. Let's have Jamie Eisenberg and Dave Richard, the fantasy experts over at CBS, simply just state facts. Go.
Eric Costanza from Riverdale, Massachusetts.
Eric Costanza from Riverdale, Massachusetts.
Is the greatest fantasy football player who ever lived.
Is the greatest fantasy football player who ever lived. Whoever lived. Whoever lived. Whoever lived.
Well, there you have it. There's no denying that. I mean, that's for sure. Let's move forward here. So, all right, Rockdalian Senators. Coach Will, our ethics manager, our new timekeeper. He's been in the league the second longest, other than myself. He's been in the league for 15 years. Good friend of mine. Grew up together. We may or may not have, done illegal actions when we were children. That being said, okay, the story of the Rockdalian Senators is not a pleasant one, my friends. His all-time record is 99-110. So obviously not great. He is 1 win away from hitting that 100 win marker, which is great. He has never won a championship this is his 15th season. So in 14 years, never won a championship. He's made it to, I want to say, 1 or 2 Dynasty Bowls. He's made it to the playoffs a bunch of times. He's tried all different types of tactics and strategies, none of which has resulted in a championship. So could this be the year? It could be. I'll tell you this, if it ever does happen, the fact that it's taken him this long will just make it that much sweeter, right? So there you go. Next team, Yo Soy Fiesta. Coach Derek, he again is leaving after this season. So he's 26 and 33. He's been in the league now for 3-4 years or so. He's probably going to obviously do whatever he can to win this year. It's too bad he's leaving. Obviously, if he changes his mind, that's great. But if not, that's okay too. So not much to say about him because it's real. He's got a different situation going on. All the other teams, well, maybe not quite. Let me take a step back. Golden Taint, Coach Andrew. This is his 3rd season. In his rookie year, he came in like a ball full of fiery hell. He basically traded away his 2 future years worth entire draft in order to try to win it all in his rookie season, which he failed at. He did make the playoffs. He had a great year, but I think he lost the 2 games in the playoffs. So obviously, it probably wasn't all worth it. He's still to this day recovering and licking his wounds from his lack of picks due to those decisions he made as a rookie. He's 11 and 18 all time. And, this year he didn't, unlike last year, this year he at least had a few picks in the first few rounds and was able to make some trades and whatnot. So, looking at his team, I don't think he has a bad team at all. As a matter of fact, I don't think anyone has a bad team, to be honest with you, but we'll get to that later. He's still newer to the league, although compared to everyone else, he's a veteran. But he's certainly shown that he's willing to do whatever it takes in an attempt to win it all. Hasn't got there yet, but it's still early in his franchise. Everyone else is either going into their 2nd year or rookie year. So there's really not much, honestly, to say about you guys yet. You're still learning, and you're still here to build up your franchise. I will say, obviously, the Virginia Beach Warriors, Coach Paul, won the championship last year. He was the first team in the history of the Dynasty to lose in week 1, but go on to win a championship. That was impressive. So a lot of you heard him during draft day, pronounce that he's going to be the first back-to-back Dynasty champion. So that would be obviously very, very impressive and very good for him. So we'll all be obviously watching that, and I think he has a great team again this year. But other than him, everyone else, all you guys, you're heading into your 2nd year, and you're hoping to build up your franchise and do some good things. Pimpin' Nate Breezy, this is his rookie year. Obviously, not much to say about that. And we already talked to him, didn't we? We already talked to him. So there you go. There's the team preview section right there. So hopefully you enjoyed it. That's something I like to do kind of heading into each and every season, and maybe at the end of every season as a little beginning of a season and to cap it off to see where each franchise is at. So I hope you enjoyed it.
The Dynasty Power Rankings.
So I challenged the league to participate in a non-mandatory little power rankings feat here, and I did get very good, response. Not everyone, unfortunately, responded. So if you're listening and you didn't respond, come on, step it up a little bit. You're in the Dynasty, bitch. Then again, you may not be listening to this if you're not going to respond to an email. I don't know. I don't know what you're doing back there with the Meatloaf Mom. I never know what she's doing back there, guys. Anywho, I digress. So to the power rankings. This is, I did get I think it was about 6 or 7 responses. So thank you for that. And I averaged and tabulated the results, and here we go. So first of all, I don't think that there's anyone in this league this year who flat out sucks. You look at their team and like, oh yeah, this team might win 2 games. I don't think we had many teams down like a huge, significant amount of picks as we have in the past. Obviously, there were some teams that were down some picks, but not to not to a massive extent. So, I will say that as far as the worst teams, at least according to the power rankings are concerned, there wasn't a clear cut. Not everyone basically picked the same team. So I think that shows that it was really all over the place. And I'm going to go ahead and challenge anyone. Feel free to jot this down or record this or whatever you want to do, because I'd love to hear maybe when the regular season or when the season's over how right or wrong we all are with these selections. That would be a little fun game there. So anyway, I'll start with the worst. The worst team according to the league coming out of the draft, Jive Turkeys. I got to say, I didn't vote for him as the worst team, but there you go. Coming in 9th, Golden Taint. Now, he was one of the teams that certainly was down a lot of picks. We just talked a little bit about the fact that he, is still recovering from decisions the previous Andrew has made. But he is in 9th. 8, our runner-up from last year, Primetime. 7, Yoisoy. 6, the Senators. And now, at number 5 and going on here, these are the teams that would be making the playoffs if things play out this way. Okay. Again, the top 5 teams make the playoffs, so it's the 2 division winners and then 3 wild card winners. Number 5, the Milltown Killers. Number 4, Darnold Palmer, who I have to say, he did I already say this? I may or may not, I may or may not have already said this. I forget now. I'm recording some of these sessions on different days, so I apologize. But he was not confident in his draft pick selections. I don't know if I already said that. If I did, I apologize. Moving on. Number 3, Pimpin' Ain't Breezy. Coming in, and I think we already mentioned that, right? When we talked to Josh. Coming in at number 3. Number 2, Virginia Beach Warriors. That makes sense. He's a reigning champ. He had a good draft. He was fairly well stocked, especially for winning the title last year. Number 2. And then the number 1, and this was the only consensus selection out of everyone who participated. Everybody actually voted me, the Riverdale Scoopers, as the number 1 team coming out of the draft. Heck, I better be with the amount of picks I had. That being said, I traded a good amount of picks away for picks for next year. Hell, I could have a better team. But I thought I'd be nice. I wanted to water it down a little bit for you guys, give you guys a shot. So you're welcome. Okay, you're welcome.
We interrupt this broadcast to remind you that you can get all of the latest Dynasty updates by following the Riverdale Gazette on Twitter. The Riverdale Gazette Twitter page. Don't be left behind.
Well, that just about does it. Sorry for the excessive babbling. If you're interested in co-hosting a show with me, just let me know. I'm sure the entire league would like to hear another voice and conversation versus me just spewing my shit into this microphone. Friendly reminder, I'm looking for all of your help in recruitment. That is the key word this year, recruitment. I want us all to enjoy the season and have fun, but let's keep our eye on the prize. We need to get our league back up to 12 guys, right? It's never too early to start the process to try to lock down our guys to join us next year. So I'm hoping that you guys can help me with that. Anyway, good luck to everyone. I hope to have another show at some point soon. Who knows when, but I'm hoping it'll happen. Until then, over and out.
Thank you for listening to the Dynasty Podcast. To hear more podcasts in your ear holes, subscribe to the show on YouTube. Or don't. The choice is yours.